Hello all, Philip with Phillips Computer Repair. I'm going to talk to you today about printers. How many of us, when we go to try and print something, the printer always throws some kind of fit, error, whatever the case may be. Whether it's on the printer or on the computer, there's some sort of error with communication. Don't know about you, but I have quite a few customers who call me saying, "Hey Philip, my printer's doing it again. It's not printing." So I typically have to go over there. 9 times out of 10, it's a software or firmware update that the printer now has available or the computer now has available. Because I know whenever someone calls me and says, "Hey, I just got a new computer. I need help looking at my printer." And then that kind of tells me, okay, is this printer new or is this the same one from before? Just that way it kind of gives me an idea. That way I can go back in my tickets and see, okay, what printer do they have? So I can see, kind of get a good gauge idea of what I'm dealing with. Well, the number one thing that I'm noticing the most when people try to hook up a printer themselves is, especially if it's on a Windows PC, or if you want to call it Microsoft, whatever. Those PCs, the one thing that I'm seeing the most common is that when we're installing the printer driver and such, we're allowing for Microsoft or we're allowing for Windows to choose the best driver to help support it. Meaning, one, it's going to be just a plain Jane generic default driver just to communicate with it. Then on top of that, if for whatever reason you end up losing a network internet connection, 9 times out of 10, the IP address, that port went bad. It's pretty much not existent anymore. So we have to go ahead and try and get another IP. So another thing to kind of work around that, to keep that from happening again, is if that device gets used on a regular basis, it might not be a bad idea to actually go into your router settings and assign it a static IP address, meaning that if you ever lose internet connectivity or much less power at your house or apartment, wherever you're at, when it all comes back on, that IP address is assigned to that printer. So next time it comes back on, that printer is going to get the IP address again, and you won't have to mess with that ever again. Now, the only time you might have to mess with a printer is if you're working on a special project or something, and that generic driver, which is the software, just doesn't provide you the options that you're needing, whether it be school-related projects, teachers that assign you some kind of work or whatnot. It could be that, and you might need a different driver. That's fine. You can always go to the printer's manufacturer website and see what drivers they have available to use. Because again, a lot of us, what we do when we install the printer, we want to make it quick and easy. Click, done. And we just let Windows choose the best driver it thinks we need. Now, 9 times out of 10, it always isn't. It's not always the best one. Will it work? Yeah. Generally speaking, it depending on what kind of work you're doing with it. But for the most part, you don't have to worry about it. But when it comes to special projects, like if you're a student in school or something with work, and you have certain parameters or whatever, and you need to print it out a certain way, and that generic driver just isn't cutting it, that's when you'll need to go ahead and go to the manufacturer website and see if there's something that they produce or that they've made for software for that said printer that will help you out. So keep in mind about the driver and the option to allow Windows to choose the driver for you when you're installing a printer. That's along the prompts. It's usually one of the last ones. As soon as the printer and computer are starting to talk to one another, it's usually one of the last little check boxes that says allow Windows to select the appropriate driver for this printer. Uncheck it. That way it doesn't have the option to check for that anymore. Now, same thing kind of goes for a Mac computer, in that when it comes to air printing, typically I do personally find that Apple's OS typically does do a little bit better of a job than Windows. I do find it does. Now, granted, it does depend on what brand printer it is, but generally speaking, Apple does a pretty good job, incorporating all the drivers that they can possibly think of to help incorporate that and get it working. But if, in the grand scheme of things, the Mac does seem to fail at finding the appropriate driver, you can always go to the manufacturer's website, get it, download the installer package, unzip it, get it going, and then you'll have all the options available to you. All right. Well, there's for you tips and tricks of the day, all about printers, both Windows and Mac OS. Hope you find this very beneficial and helpful. Y'all take care.